He sits in silence, alone, still. While the world outside burns, chaos raging like a storm beyond these walls, no movement, no reaction, just waiting. We live in a world addicted to noise, constant movement, constant action, constant urgency. A world where hesitation is mocked and waiting feels like defeat. But what if, just what if, the greatest power we possess is not found in the frenzy of doing, but in the quiet mastery of waiting? This is not passivity. This is not weakness. This is patience, the invisible virtue, the strength that hides beneath silence, the power that thrives in restraint. In a society obsessed with speed, impulsivity, and instant results, patience feels like a rebellion because it demands something rare: control. The control to resist the siren call of immediate gratification, the courage to stand still while the world rushes headlong into disaster, the wisdom to wait silently while plotting the strike that will change everything. This is the story of patience as power, not the dull virtue taught in classrooms or whispered in self-help mantras, but the brutal, raw, strategic weapon wielded by the strongest minds in history. The minds who understood that true power doesn't roar. It waits, quietly, then strikes. In the next minutes, you will see why impatience is our greatest weakness, and how those who master the art of waiting shape the fate of nations, economies, and lives. For thousands of years, patience has been far more than a virtue. It has been a weapon, a calculated strategy wielded by the most brilliant minds across history. The ancients understood something we often forget today, that waiting is not weakness, but power. Sun Tzu, the legendary Chinese strategist, made patience the foundation of his entire philosophy. In The Art of War, he wrote, "He will win who knows when to fight and when not to fight." Timing, deception, and restraint were the core of his approach. Victory was not achieved through reckless charge, but through silent preparation and careful calculation. To strike prematurely was to invite defeat. To wait, unseen, was to guarantee triumph. This wisdom echoes far beyond the battlefield. Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius taught a similar lesson, one not of armies, but of the mind. They understood that emotional control and the ability to resist impulse was the true measure of strength. The Stoics believed that it was not external events that disturbed us, but our reaction to them. Waiting patiently, without panic or rash action, was a way to master one's inner world and remain unshaken by chaos. The ancient fable of the lion and the fox captures this idea perfectly. The lion is powerful but slow. The fox is clever and cautious. Alone, neither is supreme, but together, through patience and cunning, they become unstoppable. The fox waits, watches, and only attacks when the moment is perfect. Philosophers like Friedrich Nietzsche later reflected on the profound relationship between time and willpower. Nietzsche saw patience not as resignation, but as an active force, an expression of the will to power itself. To endure, to wait, to prepare silently for a future moment of action was an affirmation of strength, not weakness. Eastern philosophy offers yet another perspective. Lao Tzu, the founder of Taoism, taught that the greatest power comes from yielding and restraint. The Tao, the way of nature, is not forceful or rushed. It moves like water, patient, persistent, and unstoppable. By aligning with this flow and resisting the urge to force outcomes, one becomes invincible. Patience is not passive surrender. It is harmony with the rhythms of the world, leading inevitably to success. Across these traditions, whether in war, philosophy, or myth, the message is clear. Impulsive action is the folly of the impatient. Mastery lies in the ability to delay, to wait in silence, to observe, and to strike only when the conditions are exactly right. Our modern world, obsessed with speed and instant gratification, has lost this ancient wisdom. Yet those who remember it, who cultivate patience as a form of power, hold a timeless advantage. They understand that true mastery comes not from constant motion, but from stillness. In this way, waiting becomes a skill, a strategic pause loaded with intent, calculation, and strength. The ancient art of waiting is a lesson in control. It teaches us that sometimes the greatest victories come not from immediate reaction, but from the quiet power of restraint. This is the foundation upon which all true power rests. Patience is not weakness. It is the calm before the storm, the stillness that precedes the strike, the invisible force shaping history's most decisive moments. Patience is rare, not because it's inherently difficult, but because our minds have been rewired to fear stillness. In a world engineered for constant stimulation, our brains crave immediate rewards. We live under the relentless tyranny of instant gratification. Decades of psychological research reveal why. Dopamine, the brain's feel-good chemical, is released not only when we achieve something, but each time we anticipate a reward. Every notification, every like, every new message triggers this flood of anticipation, creating a cycle that conditions us to seek action, to respond, to move. The Stanford marshmallow experiment famously showed us the power of delayed gratification. In children, those who could resist eating a single marshmallow immediately and instead waited for a larger reward consistently fared better in life. Yet the world we've built today is designed to break this variability. We are trained to react instantly, to consume quickly, and to avoid discomfort at all costs. Modern capitalism thrives on this addiction. Social media platforms, news cycles, and advertising algorithms feed on our impatience. They generate endless noise and chaos, encouraging us to jump at every trigger, to be constantly engaged. But engagement is not always power. It is often a trap. Those who can resist this conditioning, who learn to delay reaction, gain a rare, asymmetric advantage. They step outside the cycle. They operate on a different psychological wavelength. While the impatient are enslaved to impulse, the patient reclaim their freedom. Impatience, then, is a form of mental slavery, a submission to the demands of external forces. It fractures focus and clouds judgment. It leads to rash decisions, wasted energy, and vulnerability. Patience, by contrast, is a quiet rebellion. It is a conscious refusal to be controlled by the manufactured urgency of our times. It is the discipline to wait, to observe, and to strike only when the conditions are undeniable. In this way, patience becomes a weapon not just in war or politics, but in the very battleground of the mind. It is the fortress behind which strategy is born. To master patience is to reclaim control over your own mind, to break free from the noise, and to embrace a power far beyond the surface frenzy of action. In a world that fears stillness, learning to wait quietly is the ultimate act of resistance, and the first step toward winning smart. History is shaped not by those who rush, but by those who wait, who watch silently, bide their time, and strike with calculated precision. The stories of great strategists reveal a common thread. Victory is reserved for those who master patience as a weapon. Consider Hannibal Barca, the Carthaginian general, whose name still resonates with awe. His most famous feat wasn't a grand battle cry or reckless charge. It was the silent, deliberate march of his army across the Alps. For weeks, Hannibal's forces endured harsh terrain, hostile tribes, and freezing cold, all without engaging. The Romans expected him to attack from the south, but he chose to wait, to cross an almost impossible route, unseen and unheard. His patience confused and destabilized his enemies, allowing him to strike deep into the heart of Rome's power. Hannibal's victory was born from waiting, not from impulsive action. Centuries later, Abraham Lincoln understood the power of timing in a different context, politics and moral leadership. Lincoln did not rush to free the slaves at the outbreak of the American Civil War. Instead, he carefully observed the shifting tides of public opinion, military success, and political support. His Emancipation Proclamation was not just an act of justice, it was a strategic masterstroke. By waiting for the right moment to issue it, Lincoln transformed the war's purpose and secured broader support for abolition. His patience extended the battle, but guaranteed its long-term success. On another continent and in a much more violent revolution, Vladimir Lenin exemplified strategic patience in the early 20th century. The Russian Revolution did not erupt spontaneously. It was the result of years of careful plotting, clandestine organization, and waiting for the right conditions: war fatigue, social unrest, and political instability. Lenin held back his forces, avoided premature uprisings, and only struck when the balance of power tipped irreversibly in his favor. His ability to wait patiently, while others clamored for immediate change, allowed him to seize control and reshape the world order. In the realm of finance, Warren Buffett stands as a modern paragon of patient strategy. Unlike traders chasing quick wins, Buffett's approach is legendary for its slow, deliberate, decades-long investments. He waits for companies to prove their value, for markets to reveal their true worth, and for opportunities to emerge quietly in the background. His patience has rewarded him with wealth far beyond that of his more reactive contemporaries. Buffett's success teaches us that financial markets are not won by frenzied buying and selling, but by calm, rational, and patient decisions over time. Finally, consider the ancient Japanese swordsman Miyamoto Musashi, whose combat philosophy was deeply rooted in patience. Musashi's void strategy emphasized the power of waiting, embracing emptiness, silence, and the absence of action until the perfect moment arrived. He would observe his opponent with unwavering calm, letting their moves exhaust themselves before delivering a single, decisive strike. Musashi understood that patience in battle was not simply defense, but the ultimate offense, turning stillness into lethal precision. These examples share a fundamental truth. Patience is not mere endurance or passivity. It is the long game of dominance. Those who wait are not idle. They are always calculating, always watching, always preparing. In each case, the patient strategist harnessed time itself as a weapon. They understood that the right moment carries power beyond raw force or speed. To wait is to control not only one's own actions, but to manipulate the environment and the opponent's expectations. This strategic patience transforms fleeting moments into decisive turning points. It separates the impulsive from the wise, the reactive from the masters of control. Patience is the secret weapon of those who reshape history, not because they are slower, but because they are smarter. They wait quietly, they strike hard, and through this, they win smart. In today's world, patience is not just a personal challenge, it's a political threat. Systems of power rely on our impatience. They weaponize urgency, fear, and panic to control us, knowing full well that an anxious, reactive mind is easier to manipulate. The media's endless cycle of crisis narratives is the most obvious example. Every day, we are bombarded with breaking news alerts, sensational headlines, and clickbait designed to trigger an immediate emotional response. This ceaseless drumbeat of urgency leaves little room for reflection or calm analysis. We are pushed to act, share, comment, react, before we truly understand what's happening. This constant demand for instant engagement fractures our attention and primes us for manipulation. Political actors have long understood this. Edward Bernays, often called the father of modern propaganda, revealed how shaping public opinion requires controlling not facts, but feelings, specifically cultivating anxiety and urgency. Noam Chomsky expanded on this, showing how manufacturing consent depends on creating distractions and crises that keep people off balance. In such an environment, thoughtful patience becomes dangerous. It threatens to undermine the carefully constructed illusions of control. Even covert operations like Operation Mockingbird, where intelligence agencies infiltrated news organizations to influence narratives, relied on this dynamic. By flooding the information space with fear and conflicting stories, they ensured the public would react emotionally and impulsively, rather than question the deeper realities. Impatience, then, is a tool wielded by those in power to keep the masses compliant. When people feel pressured to act immediately, They lose the ability to question, to wait, to see beyond the surface chaos. This makes them easier to steer. But those who resist, those who detach themselves from the frenzy, gain something far more valuable: perspective. While everyone else screams into the void, the patient observer sees the patterns beneath the noise. They understand how urgency is manufactured. They recognize when crises are exaggerated or manipulated. This silent awareness is itself a form of power. By waiting, by holding back reaction, they reclaim control. They become the ones who manipulate the manipulators. In a world addicted to speed and spectacle, learning to wait is not just self-preservation, it is revolution. It is the power to break free from the game, to refuse the scripts handed to us, to watch and wait, till the moment comes to act decisively. This is how patience becomes a tool of resistance, a way to outsmart propaganda, to dissolve panic, and to navigate the chaos of power. The systems built to exploit our impatience falter when confronted by those who master the art of waiting. And in mastering waiting, we don't just survive, we win smart. Patience is not mere delay, it is a strategy. The mindset of a modern warrior is built on this distinction. In martial arts, there is a concept called negative space. It is the silence between strikes, the pause between movements. This space is not empty. It is charged with intention and readiness. Embracing negative space means valuing the moments of stillness, understanding that power is often found in what is not done, as much as in what is. Meditation and disciplined observation serve as training grounds for this kind of patience. By learning to calm the mind, to watch without immediate reaction, we cultivate a mental fortitude that sharpens our instincts rather than dulls them. Cold observation isn't passive. It is active vigilance, a form of power that waits patiently while preparing to act decisively. Waiting, then, is better understood not as hesitation but as priming for precision. It is the calm before the storm, the moment of gathering strength and information. The modern warrior knows that striking too soon wastes energy and invites failure, while striking too late risks losing the opportunity. This approach stands in stark contrast to the modern hustle culture, a relentless pursuit of constant motion and productivity. The glorification of busyness often masks inefficiency and burnout. True efficiency is found in deliberate, well-timed action. It is the difference between frantic movement and purposeful momentum. Patience, then, is a tactical mindset, available to those willing to disconnect from the noise and chaos. It requires discipline to resist the impulse to act prematurely and courage to embrace uncertainty. But those who master this mindset unlock a profound advantage: the ability to control not just their actions, but the rhythm of events themselves. The modern warrior waits quietly, and when the moment is right, they strike smart. After all the waiting, the moment finally arrives. It comes swift, quiet, and lethal. This is where the observer becomes the executor. Imagine a man who has waited years of watching, calculating, and letting his enemies exhaust themselves in reckless chaos. He has seen their impatience, their fury, their desperate attempts to force outcomes. He has done none of these things. Instead, he has remained silent, invisible, patient. And now, when the time is right, his move is surgical. No fanfare, no dramatics, just a single, precise strike that changes everything. This is the essence of power. The strike nobody sees coming because it was born from stillness, from silence. Silence is no longer absence. It is not weakness or hesitation. It is the calm before inevitability, the quiet before the storm that cannot be stopped. In life, as in battle, the greatest victories belong to those who wait, not just to endure, but to act with perfect timing. They understand that power does not shout. It whispers. It does not rush. It waits. It does not announce itself. It arrives suddenly, reshaping everything in its wake. This moment, the strike born of patience, is the culmination of strategy, psychology, and will. It is the final act in the long game of decisive dominance. When the strike lands, it is irreversible, because it was prepared in silence, because it was crafted in the shadows of patience, because the waiting was not wasted. It was the source of strength. And in that moment, victory is absolute. The man who once sat motionless in darkness now rises, calm, composed. He steps forward, not with fear, but with quiet resolve. The storm still rages outside, but he moves into it unshaken, because he has learned the greatest. The root of power is hidden in stillness, in waiting, in silence, in control. The world around us clamors for speed, noise, and immediate reaction. It demands that we rush, that we respond without thought, that we drown in the chaos. But true strength belongs to those who resist this urge, who wait patiently, not out of fear but out of strategy, who understand that to wait quietly is not to surrender, but to prepare, to strike hard and win smart. The question is this: can you wait long enough to win wisely, or will you be one of the many, rushing, reacting, falling into the noise? Those who master this art rule not by brute force, but by control, by timing, by the invisible power of patience. This is your choice: to join the crowd that chases fleeting shadows, or to become the still eye of the storm, waiting quietly, striking decisively and winning smart. The power is yours.